Welcome to Spirit Journey Collective. I'm your host, Sarah Ty. Get ready for compelling conversations with guests of all walks of life who believe they have found their purpose. Together, we will uncover unique backstories, hearing the raw experiences that led them to the work they are doing today. Let's expand our minds together with the captivating stories and inspiration that awaits. Thank you so much for joining me for another episode of Spirit Journey Collective. I have a really great guest today. Her name is Katheryn Bermann. She is a holistic wellness coach, and while she does help everyone, she has a specialty in neurodivergence. And so I'm really excited to talk to her. Thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for inviting me. I'm really excited too.
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about this. And a lot of my listeners would know that I am neurodivergent. I've talked about it. So I'm always interested in learning more and getting more tools out there for those of us who are struggling with this day to day, right? So I'm just so excited to have you on to share your wisdom. Why don't you first let our listeners know a little bit more about who you are and what it is that you offer as a whole?
So I specialize in working with neurodivergent clients because I'm neurodivergent myself too. And what that looks like for me is ADHD, so ADHD and autism. Back in the day, it was called Asperger's syndrome. It's not anymore, but that just kind of gives you an idea of where my support needs fall. And what I mean by holistic wellness coaching is it's kind of different than what you might encounter at a doctor's office, like a typical Western doctor's appointment. You take your height, your weight, you're asked about your lifestyle habits, your prescribed medicine. I look at your environment, the relationships that you have in your life. I incorporate color psychology. What sort of colors are you looking at on a day-to-day basis? What sort of foods are you eating other than, yes, everybody knows you need to eat fruits and veggies. But I look at it like, oh, what kind of foods are giving you certain vitamins or minerals? And I can go way into like, if you're into crystals, I can do that too. I am literally wearing soda light right now. So yeah, it's much more comprehensive than what you would find in a doctor's appointment, at least in my experience.
I love that. And all of that does sound like what you would call holistic, like more like
Hmm.
energy work in a way, or self-development, right? Like kind of a
Hmm.
combination of the two. So, oh my gosh, I love that. Soda light. That's the blue one? That one's blue,
Yes, it
right?
is. And
Yeah.
mine is actually in the shape of a crescent moon. I love
Oh, I
soda light.
love that. That one, I think I bought it. Oh gosh, I don't have it on me, but that's one that like helps with like intuition, right? And kind of being more in touch with that.
A little bit. It's known as the stone of logic, and anyone who knows
Oh,
me knows why it's my favorite stone.
interesting. So maybe I wonder, okay. Stone of logic. I'm gonna have to look into that because I thought it was more like intuitive, but logic and intuition, they can still go hand in hand,
Oh,
right?
definitely. Mhm.
Yeah. It's like the merging of the left and the right brain, right?
Yeah, 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 or like the crown and the third eye, yeah.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Ooh, chakras. Do you do chakra work too?
Uh, a little. I'm not, like, trained in anything, but I can tell you, what frequencies are tied to which chakras, what elements are tied to which chakras, so I can get really deep into the academics behind it, if that is something that you're interested in.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, I love chakras. I mean, I don't know a whole lot. I know like the basics. Like I could tell you like what the crown covers, on a
Mhm.
very basic level. You know what I mean? But I love talking about that stuff. So yeah, that's amazing though. It sounds like you're doing amazing work and you're helping people of all walks of life basically just come to a better sense of wellness and more not just like physically but mentally and spiritually. I would love to know, how did you get into this work, especially if we were to focus more on the neurodivergent coaching that you offer? How did you discover it? How did you fall into this?
Well, the business wouldn't exist, if I hadn't done some self-study about, like, food as medicine, different herbs, different lifestyle modifications that worked for me, and the reason I had to do that is 4.5 years ago, we unexpectedly lost my dad, and he was the rock of the family. Nobody, like I said, nobody expected it, And it was just kind of a whirlwind. The wait lists for mental health services were very long, and it got to the point where I was wondering, there has got to be something that I can do at home to try to work through the grief, anxiety, etc., all the stuff that comes with a sudden loss. One of the first books I ever read specifically for that was The Anti-Anxiety Food Solution. And it went into depth about, oh, these particular foods, it was mangoes and papayas that either had a certain enzyme that was easy on the stomach or promoted some sort of chemical reaction that because it was so easy on the stomach, it really helped with anxiety. And so that book was what sparked this whole thing. And it was only last year that I became comfortable labeling myself publicly as neurodivergent and autistic. I had to do a lot of mindset work to get to that point. It's one thing to know cognitively that difference in all things is natural, but it's quite another thing to break the association of difference being bad.
Well, first of all, I'm so sorry about the loss of your dad. I know that a lot of the times it takes a catalyst like that for us to find ourselves sometimes, but it's not easy to go through that. So
No. Mm-mm.
my condolences there. And, it's amazing too. It sounds like through that, you're able to find just self-acceptance and self-love around who you are authentically, right? Like not who we're
Mm-hmm.
programmed to be. And I can completely relate to that in a way because my business is I'm a tarot reader. And so you can only imagine the stigma, right? that follows that. And so being able to like fully embrace, like, yes, like I'm a reader and that's what I do. And that's my profession. Like owning it is been a challenge and in a journey for me, but it's similar in that, when you admit like, okay, I'm ADHD, I'm autistic, and like owning it too, like that's different, but similar in that you're like embodying a big part of yourself without fear of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
And so it takes a lot to do that. And I'm personally still working through that. So just like amazing that you got to that place for you. And it sounds like you help your clients now kind of find that for themselves.
I I try to. It was a lot of work on myself that got me to this point, and everybody's journey is different. But the thing I fall back on is that if you identify yourself as autistic, as having ADHD, as just having a different brain wiring in some way, and another person has a problem with that, that's a reflection of them, not you. And it only took me 30 years to realize that. So I'm hoping to help others get to that point a little faster.
Yeah, I love that. Because I mean, that's why I believe that's why we go through certain trials because we now have the ability to help other people through their trials, in a way that maybe we wish we would have had that support. That's a great message that if someone else doesn't support you or accept you as you are, like that's 100% of them problem. Not always easy to remember in the moment for sure, but
No.
but it's true. It's basically projection. They're projecting their idea of what perfection is based off of what they feel like they're lacking. And so they're basically projecting that onto you. And it's hard to wrap your mind around it, but like when you're first learning the concept, but it's a really important one to learn for really anything, whether you're neurodivergent or not. It's like wherever you feel that judgment, it's remembering that that judgment is a reflection of them. Exactly what you said. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Yes. And I know for me too, like I would really like to see the good in everybody. I would really like to believe that all people are good, and trying to realize that judgment is coming from a not so good place is kind of hard to swallow.
Oh man, that's yeah, that's a pretty heavy controversial type topic for sure, but I 100% agree with you. That I mean, I think that really judgment is the absence of love.
Mhm.
And I used to think that, the opposite of love was hatred, but I
No.
no,
Mm.
it's judgment. It's fear.
Yeah.
It's fear of not understanding. And I mean, I think that even like the worst of the worst people out there, they're not operating from love. They're not happy. They're living from a horrible space. Like it's that absence of love. And so when you think of it from that point, it's like, wow, that's really sad. Like instead of, like that's where the compassion versus judgment, but that's super hard when we're talking about people who've probably done awful things. So it's really hard to wrap your head around that one. But yeah, 100% agree with that. Do you feel like you've found your purpose in the work that you're doing?
Yes. Yes. And I understand now why it took me this long to be able to do it. Because even as early as 2 years ago, I still had no confidence at all in admitting I was autistic, and admitting I had ADHD, and admitting that I was different in any way. It took working on myself to get to the point where I could help others.
Yeah. And I think that that's a beautiful testament that doing that work, it it's worth something, right? When you get to the other side of it. And kudos to you too, because not many people are conscious enough to do that, to realize that there's more that there's more healing and self-development and growth that needs to happen, especially before becoming a coach. So I'm actually glad that you mentioned that you went through that as part of your journey, because I think sometimes people just think, oh, I want to be a coach, but they didn't do the work, and then they're just not like, they don't have that experience yet. So being able to like acknowledge like, no, I do, because I went through and I did, I did the work and still doing the work. And yeah, and it's
Yeah,
brave also to talk about.
there's nothing wrong with wanting to help people like that. That's fantastic. That is great. I think that my journey allows me to connect a lot more, because I went from hiding, masking, wanting nobody to know, to just to a complete stranger saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, the music is loud and the lights are really bright and I'm autistic. I'm having a lot going on right now. Just give me a second."
It's really, really brave though. I mean, being able to just be openly express yourself without that fear, but there's nothing wrong with experiencing that and expressing that.
No. No, and that was what I had to work through, the fear of people giving me weird looks, of making comments. I won't go into it, but yeah, it's happened a couple times, but thankfully I'm at the point where I know, oh, they just don't understand, and that's okay. I don't have to explain myself. I am the authority on my own reality.
Mm, that's powerful. I am the authority of my own reality. It's true though. It's so true. Oh my God, I love that. How long have you been doing this work for?
This is actually quite new for me as a business owner. The business was just started in December of last year.
Okay.
So I've hit the ground running. Like, I designed my own website. I designed all of my marketing materials. Everything that you see that's out there right now, social media, all made by me. There is only me at this point.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. Have you had some good clientele experiences so far?
Oh, I had a fantastic one. It was a session I did pro bono for the mom of a kiddo with special needs, who she was neurotypical, but she realized, I have no idea what my child's experience is, and I have so many questions. Can I just pick your brain for like 30 minutes? Of
Mhm.
course. And I feel like those 30 minutes were just me, like, going off on tangents about my own experience. But, like, a couple days later, we were both at a networking thing, and I gave my pitch about my business, and completely, like, without any prompting from me, she jumps in the chat, "She's amazing, she really helped me understand my child."
Oh my gosh, I love that. That's amazing. And
It
that's
really is.
and I mean, it's really fulfilling too, right? When you can see, you just being in your zone is helping other people, That's I like to define purpose as it's the thing that lights you up. You could talk about it all the time, right? And it
Mhm.
gets back to the world. And so this is like a perfect example of you're in your zone, you're doing what lights you up, and you're seeing it impact other people.
Oh, absolutely. And I recognize that I'm pretty fortunate. Like, if you look at the statistics about autistic people, it's it doesn't paint a very happy picture. But I have a graduate level education in psychology. I stay current on the research. I'm able to, I hope, articulate myself pretty well so I can explain what my experience has been. And if you want, go into the science of this is what might be going on in the brain.
Yeah. I'm so glad you mentioned that too, because I do think that, like new parents, if their child has autism, it almost sounds like almost like a sentence, right? Like a life sentence
Yeah.
of some kind. And, but it's not. I have a really, really good friend who has Asperger's. And honestly, if he didn't tell me that, I wouldn't have noticed. Like now I understand like certain things that he does. I'm like, oh, that's why. You know what I mean? But for the most part, I never ever would have guessed. And he's like, you know, logical researcher, like knows so much information. Um,
Yep.
he's also a Gemini, so like I'm a Gemini. My Mercury's in Gemini, so like my goodness, we can talk forever. But like, I would never have known, and he's told me a little bit about his struggles when he was younger, how there were certain, things that were, really hard for him. That thankfully he had support, but like now he's doing everything on his own. Like you would never know. And so I think that it's important to get the message out there that being autistic or being on the spectrum at all isn't like a life sentence, right? It's actually, you just have to find the strengths within like your capacity, because we all have it.
Mm-hmm. It's like any other type of brain wiring. Some things I am really good at, like I am a pattern recognition extraordinaire. Like I can see numbers and all the overlap between like traditional Chinese medicine, chakra work, the meridians, that kind of thing. I can see patterns in that. But also, you put me in, say, a grocery store that's very busy with a lot of noise, a lot of people, a lot of overhead lights. Not good. And I'm sure everybody has their own version of pattern recognition versus grocery store.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. My daughter is very ADHD, and so, for her, it's like anything that is too, what's the word I'm looking for? Stimulating. Oh
Mm.
my goodness, she will like just get the most. She just becomes so hyper and impulsive, and you know what I mean. Like it's just, if there's too much going on, it's really hard to like reel her in, But then in other environments, she's like, it doesn't take much. Like she's just calm, it's just like, it depends, exactly what you said. It just depends on where you're at, what your super strengths are, and what your weaknesses or struggles or challenges are, and then being aware of them enough to, at least like you said, articulate it. Getting to the point where you're
Mhm.
like, oh, okay, this environment is really hard for me, so other people understand. But yeah,
Mhm.
it's yeah.
And I wish someone had explained to me when I was 20 and scoffing at mindfulness that it's not just about noticing things. The noticing becomes a habit that you can then apply to, say, bodily feelings and sensations.
Yeah.
And then that is your cue that, hey, I'm getting a little overstimulated here. But nobody connected the dots for me. I had to learn that later.
And I think honestly, whether we're neurotypical or neurodivergent, I think that's everybody, because mindfulness and awareness wasn't really talked about for anybody. It was just kind of like
Mm-mm.
get through life, do the
Yep.
things. Your feelings are in the way, basically. Whatever you're
Oh,
experiencing is
yes.
just that is an obstacle. Just get it out of the way. And it's like, but I feel like the more aware we are becoming as a society, we're realizing like, no, awareness is everything. That's where you can start becoming, familiar with yourself and understanding what, again, your
Mhm.
challenges are and your strengths are. But also, you can't change something if you're not aware of it.
Right. Right. If you don't know that there is a problem or a barrier or something that could be better, it's probably not gonna change.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that it's just more of a newer concept. And I think that in a lot of ways, like the work you're doing and like me having different guests and everything else talking about awareness, I think that it's it's helping also the younger generation, because I think the younger generation are way more self-aware than,
Oh,
the
yes.
millennials, for instance.
Oh, yes. I spent several years working in a school. Yes, they are.
I did a really cool event where I was hired for a graduation party. And so I was doing readings for like young, like 18, like anywhere from like 17 to 19-year olds, right? And I mean, it was probably the one of the busiest events I ever had. I mean, it was like back to back to back. And I can see them like really like readings, like a tarot reading can be really esoteric. And these
Mhm.
kids were just soaking it in, like they were really, everything was resonating. The mom actually asked me to stay another hour, so she hired me to stay an extra
Really?
hour. And then she's like, "Yeah, I'm surprised, but you were more popular than the electronic bull outside." you know?
What?
But that was such a testament to me of like, oh my God, these kids are so aware, and they're really trying to take these messages and do something and apply it.
Hmm. And even it's a weird sensation, but the more I learn about like the chakra work, element theory, all of this stuff that not too long ago I would have dismissed as esoteric, the more I realize that I know nothing. We have so much more to learn, to examine, like scientifically in a lab. Th- I would love to do some of it. But the science just has not caught up with what a lot of people know to be true.
Not everyone wants to talk about their situation or life questions out loud. And that's okay. That's why my email tarot readings are a perfect fit for the inward seekers, the ones who feel deeply, process everything, and don't always have the words or the energy for a live session. Here's how it works. You send your question, I tune in, pull cards, and record a 17 to 25-minute voice message, channeling what comes through around your question and situation. You'll also receive a photo of the cards pulled, all delivered to your inbox within 24 hours. My intention is always to honor your journey with sincerity and heart-aligned guidance. If this feels like the kind of support you've been craving, let's connect. You can find me at the link below or at www.spiritjourneycollective.com.
I mean, that's kind of where like quantum physics come in, because they've been looking at that for years. But everyone,
Yes.
a lot of times, it's not really treated like real science. But there's a lot of information that comes through where you're like, but this is like, how can you not, like, how can you dismiss this information? It's over and over, it's the same results. So, I mean,
Mhm.
energy is real. We know, I mean, that
Yes.
is a truth. And most people know that energy, it can't be destroyed. It just becomes a different version of
Mhm.
itself, but most people don't really realize that like that means that there's an essence, right? There's a soul, there's an energy level. And so it's like you have to take all of that into account, not just like the brain, not just the physical body, but also you have a whole other energy field that, you know,
Field science is a thing. Yes, it is.
exactly. Yeah. So, what is probably one of the biggest struggles that you've come across with the people you've worked with? Like, what's a struggle that you've seen, like, kind of commonly, and what's advice you'd give for that struggle?
A big thing that I see, especially with people like me who are neurodivergent, the sentiment I hear is it's a lot. And how I interpret that is we're trying to function in a world that is not built for us. Our bodies have barely been studied. A lot of the medications that were prescribed, doctors don't know why they work. A lot of them have a lot of long-term side effects that could happen. There is so much unknown, so much gray area, and you're not even trying to just live your life yet. It's a lot.
Yeah, and that's actually a great point too, because like for instance, I think ADHD was always known as like the hyper boy in the back of the class who can't sit still,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
which is why I think a lot of women were never diagnosed, or girls, and women, because it shows up differently for a lot of women than it does for men and boys. Like we
Mhm.
get the
It's
we're
mental.
not exactly, we get easily distracted, our focus is off, or we get forgetful, or we hyper focus on something, you know. like my poor daughter, she kind of has the combination of she's everything. my Her dad was ADHD, and then I found out I'm ADHD. So she's kind of got like, she is kind of like the hyper little boy in the back of the class, plus
Oh.
everything else, but it just shows up so differently, and I think that part's still so misunderstood. I'm in this women's ADHD group on Facebook, and I can't tell you how many women have a hard time getting diagnosed to get help and support
Mm-hmm.
because they're
Yeah.
not checking off the right boxes, even though
Right.
they clearly
Mm-hmm.
have it. And so I think that's hard too, is just getting diagnosed, whether it's autism or ADHD or anything on that spectrum. It's like, if someone doesn't believe your symptoms, then you're on your own essentially. And again, like you said, in a world that doesn't understand you.
Yeah. I started this business because I wanted to offer that safe space that is so rare to find. I have no expectation of masking during session. Like, you can have your camera off, you can just use the chat. Well, it's a misnomer to say I don't care, but do you know what I'm talking about? Communicate in whatever way that feels natural to you. Because I get it. I'm not going to judge at all.
Yeah, you're basically you're holding a non-judgmental space, so that way they know they can show up however feels right to them without them feeling judged and misunderstood. You're basically saying, no, you show up as you need to, and I'm here for it.
Because I get it. I'm I'm not masking right now. I'm spinning around in my spinny chair. I'm not looking at the camera. That's what's comfortable for me. I get it.
Yeah. God, I love that. And I think that's important, especially as a coach, is to have that space of like, you're safe here. This
Mhm.
container is for you to be who you are, express how you are, and then also in that, learn how to do that beyond with you. I mean, eventually, I mean, that probably part takes time. Learning how to
Mhm.
openly unmask and just be themselves with you will eventually, hopefully, give them permission to do it around others, right? It's just being able to first be allowed, like, have that permission.
Yeah, everybody's on their own journey. Everybody has their own feelings about masking or unmasking. I just try to bring a little bit of calm into chaos. There's the safe space, there's somebody who gets it, and if you want to use the majority of our session to just rant and use all kinds of language about how it's not fair to exist in a world that's not built for you, go for it. Cuz it's not. I get it.
Yeah. And that's important too. I think that also being able to vent and let go some of that frustration and anger, because we are, a lot of ways very misunderstood, and it's just acknowledging that is healing. You know what I mean? That's
Mhm.
part of it is just feeling your feelings openly.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if we do get to a point where I can recommend some ideas, like, I'm sure a lot of people have heard of deep breathing, a lot of people have heard about grounding through the five senses. I haven't met a single person yet who knows what feverfew is. And
Oh,
it's like
I've not heard of that
the
either.
it is the herb for migraines.
Really?
Really, really, I grow it just for that because I get migraines.
Oh, wow. Is that something that can be found like in a store too, or?
You probably have to special order it, but yeah, fever few. One word spelled exactly like it sounds.
I'm gonna write that
So
down.
even with that, I promise you I will never run out of ideas. I will Google it in session if I need to.
I love that. I have a friend who just had like one of the worst migraines ever. I don't know if she gets them frequently, but I'm just writing that down so I can pass it on just in case.
Yeah.
Because, oh, migraine, I don't
Um,
get them often, but man, they knock me out when I get them.
if you actually grow feverfew, it smells and tastes very, very bitter on its own. Just a heads up.
Okay. Noted.
You might want to put some honey or like some sweetener in there.
Okay. So from here, I would love just to go to my one of my favorite segments of my podcast called Synchronicity Story Time. And it's just one of my favorite topics. It's like the best way to acknowledge real life magic, right? So do you have a story where things just fell into place, or a positive paranormal story or something like that along those lines you could share?
Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. And I'm actually gonna offer you a choice. Do you wanna hear one about a rabbit or one about the birds that I feed outside?
Hmm. I want to say the rabbit, just because I saw a ton of rabbits at work this morning. Like throughout the
Okay,
morning, I was seeing rabbits. So we're gonna go. I'll just go with rabbits.
and this happened earlier this week. Um, I was just having one of those mornings where I didn't sleep good. I had a packed schedule. I had forgotten to set up the coffee maker last night because I was tired. I was grumpy, that kind of morning. That was my kind of headspace. And I'm in this headspace. I go over to the back door to try to um get my dog's leash and collar and let him out for the morning, and I see, like, right on our back step, like, maybe 3 feet away from me, this wild rabbit that is large for a wild rabbit, and he's just staring at me. And I hardly ever see rabbits where I am, and I'm up in Wisconsin. It is very cold still. The wind chill is, like, 35 degrees Fahrenheit. What is a rabbit doing out in the cold and up close by a house? And I looked it up later. Rabbits are associated with new beginnings, with abundance, with kind of this theme of renewal. What a coincidence that a big rabbit was right by my back door when I was in such a muddled headspace. And I had forgotten about it until my lunch break because I work from home. And I thought of that wrap and I was like, wow, I have some vegetables in my fridge right now. If he's still there, I want to set something out for him because that was a cool interaction. And I go and I get some vegetables and I'm about to go onto the back porch and he's back. Hours later, just because I was thinking of it, I pop out there and there he is again. What are the odds of that happening?
That's so cool. I mean, it does definitely sounds like the universe was getting your attention, and oh, give me chills. It reminds me a little bit of what got me into tarot was an animal visited me kind of like that. I wasn't sure if I should leave my marriage at the time. It was, I don't want to get into the whole details, but it was basically getting into
Mhm.
the DV area, and it was
Oh.
getting bad. And I was like, should I stay or go? I mean, I knew I needed to leave. I was a stay-at-home mom. I didn't have any like support. So I was like, how? You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
was, one morning, my then husband had gone to work, and I got woken up to my dog that's going ballistic at my back patio, which was strange because we were on a second floor apartment building. And I'm like, what are they barking at? Who's out there? They can't see anything out there. We're on the second floor. And I look out, and there's a raven just sitting perfectly unbothered on my like the balcony of my porch. And like I had a big Springer Spaniel that was clawing at the back window, and it was like completely unbothered and just stared at me. And it was probably there for maybe, I don't know, maybe 30 seconds to a minute. I mean, it wasn't long, but it was long enough for me to be like, whoa, that's interesting. So I just randomly looked up, what does it mean to see a raven? And ravens, I guess, are very similar to the phoenix. They like represent death and rebirth,
Yeah.
and the death card in tarot. And it's so funny because I
Yeah.
think I saw that, and I've always had tarot cards since I was like in high school, but I hadn't done anything meaningful with them. I just got to pull them out and play with them every now and again. And so I saw that, and that was the first time I ever turned to my deck for anything real. And I was like, should I stay or should I go? And if I stayed, I got the devil card, which meant it wasn't going to get better. The the cycle of abuse is going to continue. If I left, I pulled the death card, which perfectly correlated with seeing the raven that morning.
Oh
And
my gosh.
it was exactly what I needed. Like, oh my God, okay. This is what I need to do. And I knew that. That's the thing about tarot is it comes with confirmation. Like I already knew the answer. I just needed that extra guidance that, made me go, oh my gosh, how could this have happened so perfectly for me to trust it? But yeah, animals coming up as synchronistic are amazing because they do show up that way if we're paying attention.
If you're paying attention, yeah. And of course I tell myself my degree is in experimental psychology. Like research methodology, statistics, that was just drilled into me. I get, there's a possibility that it's just a coincidence. I get it. I'm going to tell you the bird story.
Yes, I want to hear
For
it.
anyone who's still kind of skeptical, and then you tell me what the odds are of this being a coincidence. So again, I was in a not so good headspace. I don't remember what was all going on, but I was grumpy. Okay, I was angry. I don't remember about what, but I was not happy. And I recognized that. I was like, "Oh, this is not a good place to be in for the rest of the day. I have meetings scheduled, and this is just not a good way to go into the rest of my workday." And I'm thinking about this while I'm walking out to feed the birds, and I'm thinking, "Ugh, universe, somebody help me out here." And I go and I put the bird seed down on the ground, and I hear this chirping, like it sounds like it's right on top of me. And I look up, right above my head is a suet block that I hung off a tree branch. On it is a woodpecker that had just flitted down when I was there, like maybe 2 feet away, just chilling on this suet block, like that close to a human. I still get chills just telling it. And I'm watching this woodpecker just eat on the suet block right above my head for probably like a solid 30 seconds or so until he just looked at something and flew off. Like he wasn't spooked. We were just kind of hanging out there.
That's so cool. And woodpeckers aren't known for being up close to humans. They kind of just do their thing, but
No.
they do it. I've never been up close to one. I've seen them on trees, like, but it's usually a good 10 feet away at least. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, this one was like right up there.
Yeah. Wow. Did you look up what it means to see a woodpecker?
I did. I forget what it means, but I know birds in general in a lot of spiritual practices are seen as messengers.
Yeah.
If they especially if they come close to you or they just are near you for an extended period of time because they're wild animals.
Yeah. Oh my God, I love that story. That's so cool. So yeah, I've definitely never been up close to a woodpecker. Like they seem to like their distance. So, my final question that I like to ask is what would you like to leave for a legacy for future generations? Like, what message could you leave for future generations that you feel would be meaningful and helpful?
Oh man, just one?
You can leave more than one.
All right. Well, one message that has to do with my coaching and having a brain that is wired differently is that I don't just want people to know cognitively that diversity is natural and that there is no such thing as a bad difference. I want people to feel that. Like, kinda the difference between knowing the notes to play when you play a musical instrument and actually being able to play it. There's a
Mm.
difference. The other thing that I would wanna leave behind is there is a lot more to day-to-day life, and if you wanna say to the universe, that's fine. There's a lot more out there than what you probably realize.
Never be the smartest person in the room.
People sometimes tell me, "How do you know all this stuff? How do you know all this stuff?" And I'm like, "I know nothing."
Yeah. Like, we're all here to learn. And anyone who claims they know everything, like yeah, it's like, well,
No.
maybe you need to go back and keep looking because no, there's so much out there. And I love that message of embracing our differences and not feeling like there's anything wrong with it because we all bring our own magic to the world. And when we're able to focus and lean into our magic, it's like yeah, it's like kind of like what you were saying. It's like you can just robotically play the notes or you can play it with your own tune and your own soul, right?
Mhm. And I'm not perfect at doing that. You want to call it programming? The impression that I got growing up was that there was a certain way that you're expected to act and conduct yourself, and anything that deviates is bad. It takes a lot to both realize that and to try to consciously overcome that.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, awareness is the first step. So just getting that information out there is definitely the first step in the right direction. But then it's actually embodying it, right? And that's hard.
Yeah, I don't think anyone is perfect at doing that.
Mm-mm. No, but awareness does get you in the right direction.
Most definitely. Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you, Catherine. This has been such a wonderful conversation, and I love this topic because it's like I want to get more information out there about like give people permission to be themselves, love themselves, unapologetically, and know it's possible, no matter how their brain is wired, right? And
Right.
so I loved our conversation today. How can our listeners find you if they want to work with you as a coach?
So the social media platforms that I'm most active on are Facebook and LinkedIn. I just started on Instagram. My handle on all of those is Katheryn Bermann Coaching. And I just redid my online scheduling tool. So now you can actually go onto my website and just pick a time if you want to talk to me for like 15 minutes. I'll tell you what I do, see if I can help. That 15 minutes is no charge.
Okay, perfect. I'll be sure to put all of that information in the show notes so listeners can find you easily and connect with you easily. And thank you again for joining me today. This has been like truly, I think that there's a lot of wisdom here that our listeners can take from.
Oh, thank you. And I will end it with like a little quote. I don't remember who said it, but it's about like your environment. The same water that softens the potato will harden the egg. Find your people.
Yeah, right. Yes. Oh, I love that.
I love that too, and I
I'm
don't
just
know who
sad.
said it. But yeah, that's why I do environmental audits, because there are little things that you can do every day to try to bring a little more peace into your life.
Thank you for joining me on another inspiring episode. Remember, your purpose is a unique and unfolding path. I hope these conversations have ignited a spark within you. Until next time, keep exploring, growing, and embracing the beautiful adventure of connecting with your purpose. Stay tuned for more meaningful conversations. If you enjoyed the episode today, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And thank you for joining me on this journey.